Hmm.
All right, Michael, take it
Hi,
away.
Morgan.
Hi.
Ah, sorry, I'm still in the writing flow. So, hi everybody. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Um, it's great to see everybody. Things have been busy as we've kind of been discussing. We're back and forth with prisons. We have invitations into 6 prisons to run our workshops and provide programming. One of them is already, we're scheduled for sometime this fall to be in there and run a workshop. And she said, whatever programming you want to offer afterwards, like, they're already sending us paperwork to get our brown cards for there. And brown card is a pass to get into the prison for a year. And then so we have invitations at CTF. We have invitations in Tehachapi, which have also sent us paperwork for brown cards. Um, Ironwood, Stockton. Who am I missing, Morgan? There's 6 of them right now that are like already said, yes, bring us the curriculum, bring us the program. So
You said CTF, right?
I
Solid Ed?
did say CTF, yes.
I
How
can't.
many week program is it? Right.
Oh, we don't think in weeks, Dennis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I have, depending on which part we're doing, it's designed right now to be, well, I have a 5-year curriculum designed, being mapped out, and then I have like a shorter 1-year curriculum of that, and then we're going to start breaking it up into smaller chunks because a lot of places want 12-week or 16-week curriculum so they can run more people through. So we'll also be doing our correspondence curriculum and beyond the main like transformational journey. There's going to be, trauma-based substance abuse classes that are based on the same model that we're using. So I don't know how much, Dennis, that you've seen of the model. I don't know if you saw the previous recordings of the videos or whatever, but it's really based on the idea, the hero's journey mixed with Dante's Divine Comedy. And we've set up something that has the archetypes. We have heroic archetypes so people can understand, what their heroic archetype is, which is basically your personality type, which also has different shades of that archetype and wounded shades, which, develops different types of personalities and um, behavioral patterns that help dictate your life and typically keep you from being who you were born to be and keep you from remembering that you are the hero of your story. I'm going to close my window because we have kids outside of the pool, so it is very screechy right now.
I just heard the scream too. It's definitely summer holidays.
Um, Yeah, so from that basis, once we're building from there, from, finding yourself in the dark wood with the beasts which are blocking your way back to the straight path, and in those beasts we see addiction, so you have the leopard, the lion, and the she-wolf, and the leopard is incontinence and uncontrolled desires, violence is the lion, and then fraud with the she-wolf. So each of those, when you get into the journey, are also equivalent to circles within the inferno. And once people, hey, there's Ali. Once people understand their heroic archetype, they're ready to begin the journey. But you can't find that straight path while you're still wrestling with those beasts. So you have to deal with the beast and then choose to make a descent into the inferno. And this is a heroic archetype or heroic epic, which is told throughout history by different cultures and civilizations throughout the world. The hero has to choose to descend into the underworld to find to face his fears and find whatever the treasure is that he's seeking, whether it's his love, whether it's saving humanity, whether, saving his city, saving his state, saving the world from the wrath of the gods, whatever it is, you have to descend into the underworld to find the answer and then choose to return back and bring this gold, this treasure back to humanity. So this is our general beginning of what we're doing. You have to understand that you have to undertake a perilous journey in order to remember who you were born to be. Because what happens throughout our life is we forget that we're the hero of our story. You know, through trauma, through people telling us we're not good enough, through failure, through whatever it is, we forget that this is who we're supposed to be. And once we go through this, you get down, you realize that all the worst beast that you've dealt with, the trauma that you see in yourself, the trauma you've inflicted on others, and then the fact that you were the one who betrayed your inner child. From that point in your journey, you climb in the story. I don't know if you're familiar with Dante's Inferno, the Divine Comedy. I would assume, Dennis, that you are because you're well read. Um,
Not as much as I would like to be. I haven't picked it up in a number of years, so I'm listening.
okay, well, I will teach you all about it again. So, but at the end of it, at the lowest point of hell, Dante finds Lucifer, who's stuck in he's stuck in the ice of the last circle of the betrayers, and he has to face that, and he has to climb down Lucifer's legs to get out of hell. And as he's climbing down, he thinks he's going deeper into hell, but what happens is he passes the middle of the earth, and the world flips, and then he's climbing up. Then he climbs up out of the inferno into purgatory. And as he's climbing the mountain, each terrace, the sins that um, weigh on him, that have dirtied him, are burned away. So as you're climbing up now, you're burning away your past life, your false beliefs, um, the mask that you wore, the identities, the false shades that you had accepted, and you climb up purified, burned away till you reach paradise, Garden of Eden, in the story. And as he reaches there, he's reunited with his lost love. But in our concept, you're reunited with your inner child. And as you reunite with your inner child, you become whole. You start now reclaiming your destiny as the hero of your own story. And in Dante, he sees he now is it looking into the Empyrean, which is the circles of heaven, circles of fire, and he sees the saints and all of the wisdom of the world, the angels, God, all of that, and he receives knowledge from the saints. In our telling of it, we're receiving the knowledge of the ancients. These are the stories that have come from that descent, that story of descent into the underworld, of being the hero, of doing all the things necessary to make your story successful, to make you the hero you were meant to be. So in this, the knowledge that we've picked up from this, and which our participants learn, is the raid code, which we created, which is responsibility, accountability, integrity, discipline, and dedication. And once you're here and you're taught this knowledge of the ancients, you've been reunified, you're the transformed hero, you have to return back to the dark wood where you found yourself lost to begin with and face those beasts again. But the reason you return is to act as a guide for the next individual who's lost in that lost wood and needs somebody to help walk him through the inferno. So every time you do it, you have to do it over and over again. And every time you go back, you face the beast again. Becomes a little easier, but you're still having to deal with your own beast before you could help somebody else. And each time you help someone else, you help yourself. And each time you help yourself, you help somebody else. And it's a universal pattern which has existed from time immemorial that we've just found works greatly in this context, especially in Dante. I mean, it's very graphic and represents very well the horrors and the hell that people who are traumatized have to go through. But in the end, we all want to help other people. We all want to cease betraying our inner child and our authentic self. And this is a path which helps us to do that. All right. Questions, comments, thoughts? Rana's got something.
When will we start the actual studying of it, training of it, learning it?
That's probably going to come further down as we get everything set up because I want to get this book written and I want to get the curriculum started and working with the guys to see what's going because we may have to adjust a little bit. Um, but the general idea of it's going to stay the same.
Okay.
So, but there will be a book available soon to which kind of lays it out, and then there'll be workbooks, and then there'll be, different elements that will go along with it. Like I said, there'll be parole preparation, there will be substance abuse, there will be domestic violence, all those things, because all of these different things are all tied back to the beast. So those beasts will be its own workshop, it'll be its own curriculum, and it will be a basis for everything else. And I will instead of teaching just sitting here and using these meetings just to teach the curriculum, I'll more share things as they're developing. Like, I can share with you the archetypes. I did a little bit last week, but I read through one and just kind of bounced through there. But we could look at what we had put together for each of the archetypes and then kind of help people find out where they are and then recognize where other people are and then decide where to go from there in their own journey, right?
Yeah. All right.
So on the plus side, we have, as I said, we've got the invitations. We just had, well, I had a meeting with a potential board member who has said yes, he will be on the board. Um, so that is going to be very helpful for us because he has a lot of connections, a lot of people on other boards, a lot of different nonprofit organizations that they work with. He works with a huge company and handles their finances and does a lot of things which will be helpful to us as we're building the business aspect of this. I mean, I just want to run and chase and tell everybody what they need to hear, what I have to teach them. But, being a nonprofit and, having the experience that I've seen with previous nonprofits that where, you know, money is an issue or, you know, grants are a problem. We also just learned that the Right grant has been written into the budget for this year. So that's $20 million that will go to in-prison programming that we, as a 501(c)(3), are now eligible to receive a portion of. So, I mean, grants are great. I would prefer not to rely on grants because of the reporting requirements, and you spend most of your time trying to tell them what you're doing with the money instead of using the money for what you needed to use it for. But, donors and funders would be a better resource, but, hopefully our new board will help us find those people as well.
Hmm. And I just want to add, like, I was not familiar with Dante as much until I met Michael. And it just parallels really well. Sorry, I'm adding my 2 cents in.
Please.
It just parallels really well with the journey we're all on, and one of the roots beliefs that we have is not only everyone's a hero of their own story, but everybody needs a new start. You come to a point where you need a new start, and maybe you don't, but I mean it's applicable to all of us that we're on this journey. Like certainly um the self-discovery, the reconnecting with your inner child, the healing from trauma, and releasing all these layers that we put on and throughout life, and just getting back to our true authentic selves is the path. And so it parallels really well with the story, and that's why Michael's gone to the book, writing a book, because he's literally paralleling the story to what we're going to teach. And then the curriculum builds up from there. So it's just really exciting to continue doing this work. And one of the beasts I face is addiction, and it's so true. It's we veer off the path at a certain point in our lives because we stop believing in ourselves. We're not taught to believe in ourselves, whatever that looks like. And then it's easy to succumb to addiction or violence, or be drawn into gang life where you find a certain love and belonging. And once you know face the hell and the fire and the inferno, and the like, look the pain and the fear in the face, and instead of avoiding and pushing it down, we go through it, and you have to go through it to get out of it. One of the one of my In one of my AA meetings back in the day, I heard this one phrase that has stuck with me, and it someone said, "Be the buffalo," and I'm like, well, what the heck does that mean? And so the buffalo is the only animal that will walk headfirst into the storm. All the other animals flee the other way. And so I was like, oh wow, that just like landed so much in me. And that is the journey. Like you gotta just go through it. And so this whole journey into the circles of hell, parallel with Dante, you go through and you see what happened to you, what you inflicted on others, all the pain that you've avoided, and then you get to this turning point at the end of it where you can, you know, choose a new life, and choose the life you want to live. And it's really exciting to be doing this. And we both had visions of what we wanted to create in the world before we met. And so now we're putting those two together, and it all ties into this journey. So yeah, we're developing a lot really fast, and I think that's why we kind of slow down, and where does it need to start? So Michael's been head first into writing a book, which will be like the foundation of the story, and then we'll have workshops and curriculum and a whole bunch of different things coming from that. So yeah, just it's exciting. It's a lot because now we're doing like all of the things, all of the roles and the business side, and we're grateful for the help we're receiving from passionate folks. And but we're all on a journey, whatever that looks like. So grateful to still be doing this work. Good to see everybody here too. It's awesome.
So, Michael,
Yes.
I very much appreciate the order, disorder, reorder, hero's journey cycle of involvement with oneself and their search for themselves, the inner child. I'm guessing that this material, Dante's Inferno, has spoken to you in a unique way, that you found wisdom there that was helpful to you. Being able to teach from a very authentic uh, position or place, I found most helpful. Being, being able to offer perspectives that I only had through personal experience. And so I'm wondering then, once you're able to offer the assistance for addiction or trauma or the other uh, considered the beasts, then how, I mean, is it trying to create or by creating the community around us or those individuals that are in the course telling their own stories in relation to what's being offered in your your material, Dante's Inferno? How do I see myself as part of that story, and then how do I mean, is that how this is going to go, basically?
Yes. So overall, the everything starts with the individual. So everyone has to get back to the idea that they're the hero of their own story. They have to choose to face the beast. They have to walk through the inferno. This is just kind of a guide to show you this is where we see this. This is where this, where do you recognize in yourself? So it's going to help you find those things within yourself and then find a way to work through that. How do you face this and move through? So in the long run, it's for everybody, because we're coming up with this code for living and this injunction to serve others with your existence and with your example. So it will go through that for each individual. And then we'll be doing workshops, we'll be doing correspondence curriculum. So I do want to teach the community this material and then pair them with people inside. I want to bring them in to do workshops with us, but also pair them so they can go through the material together. Because, as Dante needed guides, he had Virgil and then he had Beatrice and then he had one of the saints that helped him understand this as he walked through. So it's a guide that points a way for you, but doesn't walk it for you, that doesn't tell you this is the answer. We just show you the path to go. And we give you a code which is going to help you in your life, no matter who you are. Doesn't matter whether you're in prison, whether you come from a broken family, whether you've been in the foster system, whether you're escaping domestic violence, whether you were a rich kid who never learned how life really operates. Everybody needs a new start, right? And part of this journey is not only to acknowledge your own suffering, your own trauma, and what it's done to you, how it shaped you, how it created your belief systems, how it made you the person that you've become, the wounded shade of your heroic archetype. What it does is, as you see yourself and your shade in these circles of hell and these different forms of trauma, you also see the rest of humanity, and especially those that you have inflicted trauma upon. So as you're walking through here, you're like, oh, I'm right here in this circle of violence. And oh, well, there's somebody else that I put in here because I committed violence against them. So it's accountability at the same time. So as you're walking through it together, you start creating bonds and empathy and understanding of the effects of actions and trauma. So in the long run, yes, we want to run people together. We want them to go through it together, and we don't want it to stay as a prison program. It's not designed to be a prison program. It's designed to be a whole new way of life. But those who need this and at this immediate time are, for the most part, people sitting in prison because they're the ones who are willing to do a little bit of the work right now. They have no choice. If they don't do the work, they don't come home. And those who are out here, most are sliding by, but they're still suffering from it. And especially these young kids, that are coming from bad neighborhoods or in the foster system or whatever, if they don't learn this stuff now, they're going to be the next generation sitting in prison. So what we want to do is instill in everybody, again, the idea that they're the hero of their own story. They don't have to wait for a hero to come along. They don't have to play second fiddle in somebody else's story. They can make anything happen if they believe in themselves and they do it. And this goes along, a lot of you have heard this before. I always talk about, I played Dungeons and Dragons growing up. Yes, I know, I'm a geek, I'm a nerd. I love it. I'm okay with that. So in Dungeons and Dragons, they have this idea. There's a concept before you can even start playing the game. And what this concept is suspension of disbelief. So if you walk into this game going, I can't jump off a cliff and, grab a tree branch 200 feet down and do a somersault and do this and then pick this guy's pocket in midair. If you go, wait a second, that's physically impossible. The game's not going to be fun. So what you have to do is suspend your idea of your sense of disbelief. So you have to believe that anything is possible. And that's one of the things that we teach in New Start is after you go through the inferno, you come up through purgatory, you're burned clean, you reunite with your inner child. I love the symbology of the or the symbolism of the phoenix. You're burned away and you're reborn, reunited with your inner child, and you're reborn as the hero that you were meant to be. You have the opportunity at this point to rebrand yourself as whatever you want to be. You don't have to be the criminal, the gang member, the ex-felon, the convict, whatever you have been labeled in the past. It's not who you are. It's not who you have to be. So you get to rebrand yourself as whatever you want to be. And, part of the things that we'll be doing is vocational training and life skills. And, this is where Morgan comes in. She does branding and design and all and social media and websites. So we're going to teach people how to literally rebrand themselves when they come out of prison. You're reborn as whoever you want to be, and you get to build that. So going through this allows you to make a new decision, a new choice.
A new identity, and it's just it's a new way of thinking, and everything changes when you believe in yourself. Everything. I was very much, when we go more into the archetypes, possibly not on this meeting, but like I was very much a seeker, and that's one of the archetypes. And it's the one, looking for answers all out in the world, but never in me. And that was true for me for my whole life. I was waiting for someone to make me happy. I was waiting for someone to make me feel good enough. And it was always up to me. And I remember realizing that one day, and it was just like this huge aha moment. And it was, what is happening with Laura's?
I don't know, it's bouncing back and forth, but she keeps dropping in and out.
Sorry, that was really, I was like, what is going on over there? But with the thingy, anyways, yeah, it was just like mind blown, like, oh my gosh, wait a second, I have choice, I have agency. Because, part of my trauma growing up is, I learned that I didn't. I just had to do what I was told, or act a certain way, or like mold myself to the wants and needs of other people. And therefore, I'm just getting to know myself in my 40s now. Like, I really have to analyze, what do I want and need in this moment? It's not, that wasn't rooted in me. And so, when I can tap into that and choose that and meet my own needs, it's like, it's just a game changer. So it really is like, we are all the heroes of our own journey. Like, no one's going to come do it for you. Certainly there can be guidance and wisdom, and that's what we're providing here. But it's up to you. And when you surround yourself with the right people, who love you and are safe, and you can be who you authentically are, then you eventually get to the point where you believe in yourself and you love yourself. And that's entirely true for my journey over the last 5, 6 years. Is I found people. The my life, literally, this group here, the community I've met in LA was the people who made me feel safe, and now I've changed my life for me, like completely. So it really is amazing, just the power of what we have in us, and now to light that up in other people, or do all we can to do so, and hopefully they can see their light. Like, it's just, there's so much pain and suffering in this world, and we don't have to be suffering.
And I know we kind of went on there, but did we answer the question? I'm not sure whether we answered the question or not.
I don't even know. I do the same thing. I don't know. Did we?
Do you feel your question was answered?
I also have to throw out there that, a shout out to 3-year-old Michael. So I mean, he started, reading at like 3, and we brought home from his grandma's not like the last bucket of like his books, and in it is like, I don't know, what's all the heroic stories, like,
The Iliad, the Odyssey, Knights of the Round Table, Choose Your Own Adventure books,
is all.
Hardy Boys. So, yeah, all the things that made me curious about the world and what I could be. Um, so if you guys want, I'd like to just jump in and kind of go over the slides and show you the archetypes. If you guys want to look at it and maybe see if it resonates with you. Do I have sharing permission, Morgan?
You do now, and we'll probably have to. There's so much about each archetype that we'll have to dive in, but I forgot we had
Yeah.
these slides, so
Yeah,
yeah.
this is just going to be the name and the essence of the archetype itself without going into the shades or any of that. So, um,
You should be good.
yeah, okay, let's see what happens here. I should be good, but you know how this goes. All right. Okay. So our first archetype is the guardian, and this is just the essence of the guardian. These are two examples of the heroic archetype, both a masculine and feminine example. And when we teach this, we'll actually show the story, give a synopsis at least of the story behind Achilles and Penthesilea and the different archetypes that we have here. And if somebody can let me know when they've finished, I can move on to the next.
Do you want to just kind of give like so what's the guardian, like the protector?
Yes, the Guardian's a protector and, sees themselves as responsible for others. They have to be there when everyone else fails. They have to be the ones that keep control.
I can see that. I think we got a thumbs up from Chris.
Okay. So our next one, we'll let Morgan talk about this one.
So this is me. I am definitely one of these archetypes. The one who wanders through worlds to find their own. And um, you know, there's always that pull of looking for answers, but looking for answers in all the wrong places, right? So this is, I believe, the person who, seeks escape through escape mechanisms, or reads like a book and is like, oh, this is the answer to my life. I've got to do this, or, follows other people's paths, but not their own. So I think, I don't know. I mean, I identified it with it when I read through, but I don't know if that sums it up really well. So I'm reading it, so I'm gonna read. There's a poll. Yeah, there's just a pull to find the answer, but I'm always looking outside the source, and the source is me. I think that sums it up. What do you think, Michael?
Sure.
Did I get it right? How would you
Yes,
say?
absolutely. I mean, if you identify with it and that's what you feel, if that's what comes to you from it, that is 100% true for you. But it's the one who's never content, always looking for a new answer and for someone else to give them the answer that they're seeking, which means they're never comfortable in themselves and knowing that they have the answer. It
That
all
part.
has to come from someone else.
That part.
All right, so our next one is the architect. Now, this is somebody who needs structure. Everything has to be exactly this way. This is how it works. I want to know how this works. So I was the kid who took things apart because I wanted to know how this thing worked. Sometimes I was able to put it back together, not always, but I understood. I was like, oh, that's how that worked. But very structured life, very routine. I get up at this time. I want this. I want that. That's the architect. Those who've been in prison really learn that we like routine. So it kind of forces this on you because you're like, I want them to crack the door for breakfast at this time. I want them to run yard at this time. This is exactly how it's supposed to be set up. You gave me a rule book, so you better follow this rule book because I'm supposed to follow it. But it gives you an idea of this is how it's supposed to be. Okay. Next one, the firebrand. Want to give this one a go, Morgan?
Um, nope.
The firebrand's basically the rebel. You know, they feel they've been let down, they've been betrayed, um, the system didn't do what it was supposed to do, so they decide they just want to burn it down. They want to go against everything that exists. They're going against order because it didn't work. It didn't work for them. It didn't work right, so it needs to be completely demolished and be replaced. And those of you who have been in prison or dealt with the judicial system, and then say, well, I accepted that I got arrested and incarcerated for the crimes that I committed. So everybody else should be required to follow the rules. They should have to follow the law, and they need to be punished to the utmost of the law because I was. This was where a lot of us fall in because we want justice.
I saw Rana thumbs up that one.
Hmm. All right. The performer. Let's talk about people who wear masks for everything, Morgan.
Yes, you called me. Yes. Yes. I mean, I used to call myself like a chameleon because I could just mold myself to what I knew others liked or wanted. And to the point of, like I said, I don't know what my opinion is on certain things. Even when I met Michael, I was still very much like, what movie do you want to watch? Well, what movie do you want to watch? What movie do you like? I would choose things that I knew would appeal to him and others throughout my whole life, and that's how I found a false sense of belonging is, by betraying my own inner self to just choose what I knew other people wanted and not necessarily choosing me in those instances. And um I mean, I've grown so much when, when you're in a healthy relationship and with healthy people in your life, like you become safe to feel and have an opinion and not be shamed or blamed for it or not be cast out because you didn't agree with somebody, right? And that was certainly where I found myself. So it wasn't, safe to have my own opinion. I had to make sure it aligned with whatever else everybody else wanted. Then I found myself addicted and depressed through life. And, now, I can choose a movie, I can choose what to eat, I can choose all these things. And so, I wore masks my entire life. I was absolutely a performer. I'd put on a face for everybody. And to the point where I lost myself. I don't know who I am anymore. So I mean, I think a lot of people can probably relate to the mask analogy. And it just feels so freeing to not perform anymore. It's amazing. So that I
Mm.
believe is a good
Well,
synopsis of the performer, but please add anything.
no, it's great. And I see Rana with her hand up, so I don't know if she has a question or if she's going, "That's me."
Ah, um, with these archetypes, for instance, the performer, I'm passing out, my blood sugar's dropping. I skip around with my thoughts. People are performers, really very empathic. They can feel other people's feelings. They can walk into a room and know what's going on. And if they've come from abusive backgrounds, they'll curtail to other people's, experiences, emotions, because they feel it so acutely. Will you be bringing into, sorry, I'm really passing out. Whew. Will you be bringing into the teachings, or not the teachings, but the curriculum, any information on a person's way of relating to the world?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Okay.
this is just the essence, right? So what we're doing in this, we want people to see the essence of this general archetype. And you're going to see yourself in more than one, right? You're not tied to just one. And your archetype can change throughout your life as go along the journey. But as I said, we have the general essence, we have the shade, and then we have like wounded shades. So that you'll start seeing people who are, uh, who are like kowtowing to other people's beliefs or shaping their whole life around other people, being codependent. All that stuff's going to come down from this. This is just the high level, like we want to see where you see yourself in an archetype, and then we're going to dig down into that because even though we're using heroes in the as the archetypes, heroes weren't perfect, and they were usually deeply flawed, but in spite of that, they still continued on and put others before themselves and did whatever they had to do to make the world better for everybody. So we're going to look at the great examples and we're going to look at the worst examples, but we're going to see, as I always say, that life is a choose your own adventure book. And if you make the wrong choice, there's nothing you can do except keep reading until the next place where you get to make a choice. Because our lives are just like those books. There's always an opportunity to get back to being the hero, right? Life wants you to win. The Choose Your Own Adventure book wants you to be the hero. You can make the wrong choice over and over and over again, but 5 pages from the end of the book, they're going to say, here's one last shot. Do you go and save the princess or do you take the money? Right? You're going to get a chance. And some people will never make the right decision, but that option is always there. So let's move on here. Our next one is the strategist, the one who sees it all but must learn to trust the heart. So this is the one who's planning 10 steps ahead, not trusting anybody. They want to solve all the problems. They have the intuition, the insight. They're like, okay, I'm going to figure out this. If I move this, I can do this, I can do this, and this will be what happens. And a lot of times they get stuck in that thinking about what happens here, what happens here, what happens here. Sometimes they don't make the decisions because they're too busy trying to make a decision about the decision.
I can see a little bit of myself in this now, actually. It's like, but I don't know if it's the same, but it might be. I would always try and problem solve for other people, right? And just like, if I do this, this will happen. Or I don't know, but because I'm definitely not like an organized strategist, routine person, but I would always be strategizing in my mind in order how to get what I needed or wanted. So a little, bit manipulative. Um, because I'm really not a planner or organizer. So I don't know. That came up for me. I was like, oh, I've strategized in certain ways, but so it's kind of cool how you can see I see pieces of me in each one of these. And certainly when we dive into like there's pages and pages more about each one, about the shades and the wounded shades, and which beast they succumb to more often than not, and but also what happens when they're healed. So cool. Anyways, just my 2 cents.
Okay. So the next one, the caretaker. I know Morgan saw
This
herself
one's me.
here.
This is me. This is me. This is me 100%, but at the what was what's the word I'm looking for? Um Not lost, but at the cost of myself, I would take care of everybody else. And to the point, it became even a bit of an avoidance of my own stuff, because I would see somebody post something on Facebook and I haven't talked to them for 25 years, but all of a sudden it was up to me to be on the phone with them every day, like talking about whatever they're going through and being there for them. And it was to the point where I almost booked a plane ticket to go back and caretake for somebody I haven't talked to in like 23 years because they were going through some a traumatic experience. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, it was definitely beyond my capacity and boundaries. And I would just go overboard and making it up to me to take care of everybody else and jump to their needs at every beck and call. And this is classic people pleaser too. Where or people that might be more masks though. That might be more performer. I'm not sure, but I really identified with this one is really all I'm trying to say, that it was always take care of other people before you take care of yourself. And I've never learned how to take care of myself. I'm trying to do that now.
She's
So
doing a great job. Great job.
thank you.
Okay. And our last one, whereas the firebrand was more like the revolutionary, here we have the rebel, the one who breaks the rules, breaks the cycles, sees everything that's not right, doesn't work, and says, I'm just going to go against it. Just they typically, instead of trying to tear it down, though, they just don't go along with it. They keep outside of it.
This is funny because I always wanted to be a rebel, but it was too much of a don't get in trouble type girl. So there was always what I called my inner rebel who attempted to be rebellious, but really wasn't that rebellious.
Yes, Rana.
Sorry. It's amazing how accurate you are because I am this as well. And two of my main stages in life, or what caused that, is the invisibility. And where's the other one? Where'd it go? Oh, betrayal. Betrayal, invisibility. It is so true. This is awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So now you have our 8 archetypes, and those are just the essence of them. As I said, there'll be a shade, there'll be wounded shades, there'll be a transformed self after, the rebel becomes what they were meant to be. So there's there's much more to come. But we'd like to talk about what resonated with you guys? Did you see yourselves in any of them? In one in particular? A little bit in all of them? It's important in the long run to figure out where you're beginning from. You can't heal without recognizing who you've become. You can't progress without recognizing who you've become. And you may stay in that archetype and become the best version of that archetype, but you can also change. Achilles was a great warrior that showed no mercy until he killed Hector and Priam came and begged for the body of his son. So there's so many lessons in history for us to learn from to show us how to be those heroes that our ancestors knew we were designed to be. So,
So had seen someone had made a comment about the Enneagram and possible crossover with some of the archetypes. The Enneagram would offer that you have a root sin or an issue specific to that type. I'm a one, perfectionism, but there is a redeemed side also that I'm pointed towards and uh, would know my progress based on my ability then to live out of that redeemed identity of the Enneagram. So in this case with the archetypes, then identifying myself in, and I did a number of them. Uh, I'm working to understand better how that's conflicting with my ability to connect with my inner child. But is there a more specific direction, or is there something that I would better understand? Like, hey, you should be more spontaneous if you're this perfectionist one. And so, if I'm the rebel or one of these other archetypes, then is there a persona that I'm supposed to be identifying with as a redeemed or healed?
so first off, you're not supposed to be anything. We're not here to take agency from you. You're the hero of your story. So what you determine to be, once you get up there and you reunite with your inner child, you determine where you go from there. But as part of the what I put together. So like the heroic transformation for the rebel, the rebel becomes a rooted disruptor. The rebel doesn't lose their edge, they refine it. The rooted disruptor still challenges power, but now with clarity, discipline, and love. They don't fight every battle, they choose wisely. They no longer prove themselves by walking away, they stay and lead. Their words cut through lies but heal the heart. They don't burn the system down to watch it fall, they redesign it. They become not just the one who refuses to obey, but the one who shows a better way. Right? So we have the essence and then what you become when you're wounded. So, we have the core beliefs of each of these from the essence to the shade to the transformed self. So, all of those are in there. Um, and specifically the wounded shades that we've done, each one of them, because we did 3 for each archetype, and each one of them aligns with one of the beasts. So, it's kind of like when you take this thing is like, if this, the personality test, you take the number and then it says, you're like, okay, at the end of it, if the lion is the one that you have 10 of, that are your challenges, that's probably the one that you're dealing with most right now. But it could be the leopard. You could have a couple of the other ones, but then as this will change throughout your life as well. But every time you go back, you're going to have to face those beasts again.
And I see you, Chris. I just before we go there, I just want to add also, um, speaking to your inner child, Dennis, there I think one of the themes, at least for me, that is going to be important in this journey to reconnecting with our inner child is play. And so this isn't in like the curriculum or anything, but like, and I don't know where this will start showing up, but I'm gonna just encourage everyone to play. Like, we lost that when we're traumatized, right? And so, the society's made it really silly for adults to play, but we're all kids on the inside. And so whether it's jump on a swing set or play a get out a game or something, like I'm really gonna encourage everybody to play with their inner child or do something that brings you joy. Like, I used to, the swing set for me is one of the biggest things, but I'd be ridiculed because, you know, people don't want to see a 40-year-old on a swing set or whatever, where the line was. And I'm like, what? And now, all that societal judgment stops you from playing. And it's such a healing aspect to this. So I think throughout, it's not in any of our curriculum. This is definitely, very healing in so many ways, but throughout also I'm gonna, encourage some playtime.
And there'll obviously be elements, when you look at the different heroes and the different archetypes where they do. You see where they're enjoying the games. You'll see all the different types of emotions and of a well-rounded hero. Um, and just to be clear, or just to be transparent, one of the first dates I took Morgan on was to a park. So. And she swung on the swings, and we did the teeter-totter and all of those things
It,
because I
it was
don't
just so
care
much
about
fun. It was just so much fun, right? And oh, so anyways, but yes, so tap into what does play look like for you and your inner child and then do it. Just do it. And I will always be the cheerleader in everyone's corner to play. And even to the point that if we're all local one day, we're gonna go and play. And it's gonna be fun. So anyways, Chris, you've got your hand up.
Right. Just going to cover a bunch of things. I've been kind of been not quite answering. Anyway, this reminds me of a lot of my Buddhist Sangha who used to say, lean into the sharp points, which means the things that you most fear or cause the most pain or anger, you know, confront them, face them directly head on, and you'll find that they don't have their power anymore. Um, and then Michael, you actually answered the question that I had before I got to ask it, so that's that. And then I was going to say, Dennis, I also used to have an issue with my one side. I'm primarily a nine, but I had a very strong one wing. And what I'll say to that is the way I got through it is because I used to um, really believe that things had to be done a certain way and that others had to do it that certain way also, to the point where if they hadn't done it properly, I would go after them and correct it. But I just started letting go of that and just let them do it the way they were going to do it. Because for one thing, if I'm always correcting things, they're never going to learn to do it the right way, or the functional way. Their way may be different, and if that different isn't going to solve the problem or whatever it is, then me fixing that problem for them isn't going to help them learn. So that was part of my process of getting over that and coming to a more healthy level. And then I found that as I was able to let go of other people doing that, then I would lessen my own sort of OCD on how I saw things needing to be done. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you, Chris. And it's interesting when I start like this, I haven't read Joseph Campbell. I didn't read The Hero's Journey. I didn't read all these things, the enneagrams and all those things. Like I just started putting this stuff together because I felt like, we're our own heroes. Like the ancients had stories for us that taught us how to live. We had knowledge. They had knowledge that we've lost, and the world is worse off for it. And it just came to me like, well, there's all these different types of heroes. There's this, and then for Dante, like the reason that one always appealed to me is because I see life as in like an hourglass shape. You're heading down into the inferno and it's getting narrower and narrower and it's so hard. But once you reach that center, it's a turning point. And you flip that thing over and then now you're climbing back up. And it just, so it gets narrower as you go down and then it opens up. Everything opens up for you as you go back up. Now, that's not exactly in line with Dante's depiction of it, but for me, that's what made the most sense because, he's getting back up into to paradise through purgatory, into paradise, into all the knowledge of the universe. And, you know, I like the hourglass analogy because you have things on one side where if you're a gang member, a criminal, all this stuff, you still believe in honor and loyalty and pride and what you think is love. And it's all there, but it's just twisted where it's not in a way that's best for you and for society. It's the best for whoever's using you at that time. And when you flip it over and you start climbing up, now you start discovering love and pride and honor and things that speak to your authentic self and are good for society as a whole and not just for those individuals who are using you for their own aims. So when you become that hero, then you discover these things in a pure way. And that's kind of what Dante said was once you got up there, he found the pure love with Beatrice and then, all the knowledge from the ancient or from the saints. But go ahead, Rana.
In Buddhism, Chris, you'll probably know this. In Buddhism, it's taught there's 5 families, and they're all archetype energies of ourselves, and everybody fits into all of them. But there's primarily 1 or 2 that we really fit into. For instance, the Vajra family, its color's blue, and it has a certain Buddha with it. But that's the mind that it's a sword. On one end, or one side of the sword, is anger, destruction, chaos. And on the other side, when that negativity has been transmuted, is wisdom. And so it kind of reminds me of that. It's taking what the flip side of what is, because they're both the same thing, correspondence.
Right.
That's what
And
I've been.
and again, like I'm not coming up with anything new. This is just my understanding of what the ancients were saying. So if you find it with Gabor Mate, if you find it in Buddha, if you find it in Christianity, if you find it wherever you find it, I just believe that we have a general thread of knowledge that came down from the ancients that, you know, once we align ourselves with it, we're much happier. The world's a better place. This incessant pursuit of technology and possessions and all the personal, it's all about me, I. Once you start pursuing all that, the pursuit of happiness makes you unhappy, as everybody knows, right? So this is just me saying, I saw this knowledge in Homer. I saw it in Virgil. I saw it in, the Book of the Dead. I've seen this knowledge in many places, and I felt that it comes together in Dante because we have a choice to be in heaven or in hell. But depending on where we want to end up, we have to go through it to get out. You can stay stuck in hell or you can reach heaven, but you have to be the one to do it. You can't depend on other people to do it for you. You have to choose to be the hero of your own story and then move heaven and earth to make it happen.
Thanks, Morgan, for the offer to jump back in. I really do appreciate the play aspect. Your comments so true. Um, and you did answer my question, Michael. The transformation aspect, the reordering is what I heard too, as part of that hero's journey. So thanks.
Of course, thank you. You know, the whole point of this journey is to emerge transformed and burn pure, purified through the fires and reunited with your authentic self, that inner child. And then, when we get more into the nitty-gritty of it, you reunite with this inner child and then you have to parent that child and teach it how to be an adult. So, you know, we get to give our child that parent that we never had, that we wish we had. Go ahead, Laura.
Hey, I just want to jump in really quick because I feel urged. For Dennis, just to add to something I personally worked through as a perfectionist, especially as a Virgo. Anyway, oftentimes, like that perfectionism is more so just like a surface level secondary emotion to needing to have control. And we want to have control because our inner child, at one point, there was a loss of control, and so we kind of shift into the state of like survival mode, and it's very unconscious or, deep down within the subconscious mind of, trying to have control, and therefore we shift into to this perfectionism. And so, as a way of staying safe. And so part of, I think, that connection with the inner child becomes so pivotal when we figure out, and inner child meditations are really powerful too, but like going back into that childhood and figuring out kind of maybe where was there like a loss of perceived control, and integrating where we once lost control and feeling the need to control our environment for our safety, and then integrating that into like adulthood now where we are in control and we do have the power, um, but our subconscious mind, our inner child, is still perceiving this loss of control. And so when we integrate that and we meet the inner child with what it needs, um, that connection kind of like comes back online. Because you mentioned something about, I think, like a disconnect with the inner child. And so sometimes being in that mode of perfectionism is like protecting the inner child. And so there's a bit of a disconnect. But once we figure out what did that inner child need, go back to feeling how it felt to lose that sense of control. Um, and that can look like play too. Like I obviously love the play analogy. I don't know if that made any sense, but I just wanted to throw that out there. I love this whole Morgan and Michael, this whole thing. I'm gonna keep saying it a million times over. I love it so much. Deeply resonated. Like I personally feel so seen. So I'm super excited to like dive into the content and unpack it. And again, this is just so incredible.
Thank you, Laura. And, another Virgo perfectionist here. Now I get it, but we're also looking at, when like Laura mentioned, the childhood stuff, like being a perfectionist, you know, I was beaten when I got something wrong. So I want it to be perfect. I want to know what the answer is, so I stay safe. And that's really what we're looking at is, what did you do as a survival mechanism? Your personality developed, your archetype developed due to what you went through as a child.
I'm just gonna jump in here really quickly. I am so thankful to be in part, I don't know, just a part of this group. Everything you guys are touching on is profound. And I kind of wrote a bit in a comment, but I used to live in a Buddhist monastery where every Monday we would have like a lazy day. And the only requirement of the lazy day is that you have to play. And I remember going to my first lazy day as like, I don't know, a 28, 29-year-old. And I was like, I just want to sleep all day. Like, I want to meditate. Like, I'm not sure what this play thing is about. But they forced me, and I felt really, really uncomfortable at first. And I remember a sister like putting chalk in my hand, and she was like, "You're going to draw with this chalk, like on the ground right now." And I was like, "No." Like, and then I actually felt a sense of control. Like 29-year-olds, like, don't draw with chalk. I need to draw something perfect. Like, I need to show that I am not a child with this chalk. And she was like, "You're playing wrong." And it was like this whole like exercise for me to learn how to play again. And I didn't know that I had lost that and that there was an element of control. Like, even when I was playing with the chalk, I wanted to control the narrative and show that. And I was like, who am I proving myself to? But anyway, it was healing. And it was really like it was a transformative moment. Like, I don't like I wish I could go back to this sister and thank her for the chalk. And there's just this big, I don't know, there's a direct correlation with healing the inner child, and I'm realizing that for the first time in this call.
Mm.
And I don't know, I'm just grateful and I'm excited to see how this all kind of interconnects going forward. And thank you for this work, and it is already healing me just by being here. So thank you guys.
Yes, thank you, Ellie, and thank you for being here, and thank you for participating. And I mean, it's really that. I mean, I learned how to play again I mean, we always goof around in prison, the other guys, and you do stupid little things and you're playing a little bit, but it's always with an edge of seriousness. But I got in a dog program where I had to play with the dogs and use a happy voice and act stupid. And, it was so hard for me because I was like, I have this image, I'm tough, I'm disciplined, like, you're not going to make me look stupid. And they said, okay, you want to be in the program? There's 60 other guys in the program. Go and introduce yourself to every single one of them in your happy voice. So I had to go, hey, how you doing? My name's Zach. Let's go down. Yeah. And that was the hardest thing for me ever, right? And now I do it all day long, don't even think about it. And I smile and I laugh. I get up, I sing little stupid songs. I just make them up as I'm going along. And, you know, but that is just freeing because that's who I am. It expresses a joy that I have at the moment. Morgan gets a kick out of it.
There's something so liberating in it. And it's like we have like this refusal, like this inner refusal to let go and be free and have fun. And it takes like deliberate energy to like undo that. And I've only seen that in Buddhist monasteries. So to also see that here, it's like, oh wait, this is massive. And yay. So
Well, I mean, everybody's going through their own hell, everybody's traumatized, but those guys sitting in prison and women sitting in prison, like they are living in it. They're just sitting there wallowing in the trauma, wallowing in the hell, wallowing in the pain. And what do? They lash out. They still seek love and acceptance, but they're not able to get it. And those who give it to you for the wrong reasons and in a manipulative way to, oh yeah, I love you, brother, I care. You should go stab that guy. You know, maybe they back you up if you're getting jumped on, but when you go back to the hole and they forget all about you. There's all they're all there until it affects them or you're out of sight. So this is why we have to understand we're our own saviors. We're our own heroes. We are the ones who determine our path. You're going to hear me say this over and over again because this is what I want to sink in. You are the hero of your own story. I'm not here to give you answers, just here to help remind you of who you are. And Morgan wants you to play. But
I'll be checking in.
Morgan, I feel like at some point we should just run like play groups.
The thoughts
Like,
already in my mind.
like we're literally gonna come for an hour and all we can do is just play.
Oh yeah, that I've already had that thought, and then to bring it into Zoom, I'm like, okay, we're gonna instigate show and tell, like all these things. Like, I don't know. I'm a kid in an adult body, and I I want to have friends. I want to meet kids together, like so that it's happening, Laura. Don't you worry. It's happening.
Okay. Well, I know we've went pretty long here. So I will go ahead and close it up. I mean, if anyone wants to stay on, needs to stay on, we have a few minutes, but um, otherwise, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for participating, and thank you for learning with us, going on this journey. And you know, it'll get better. We're still working on it, but we'll have some material, and we'll get it down. We're just right now we're just pushing to get it together and make sure that we provide those that we're serving with the best examples and the best knowledge that we have found that may help them in their lives.